Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C race and strategy guide. We're in the Group 4 machinery for this week's race and we're off to Japan. It's Kyoto driving park Yamagiwa in reverse. Now we have visited this location a couple of times already in the Group 4 cars for GT7, but I do believe this is the first time it's just the Yamagiwa part of the track. Normally, I'm pretty sure we do the Miyabi and the Yamagiwa together when it's Group 4, so fairly fresh combination. We've got 10 laps to get round, definitely PD's favourite number of laps for the Daily Race C. Tyre wears at times 3, fuels at times 1. We've just got the racing mediums available, and we've got an unusual part to the strategy or the settings in this one. We do have a mandatory pit stop required. I do like to use that for this track. I do remember that in the past. We'll see how that's going to affect the racing and the strategy later on. BOP is on, damage is light, it's a rolling start, and slipstream is real. So, our test car for this one is going to be the Ferrari 458. I do think there'll be a good number of cars that will be competitive here. I'm not really that up to speed with the current BOP in Group 4, I must confess, but I know they gave the Sylvia a small reduction in power in the last update. Still think it will be good round here, but I think the Ferrari will be good, I think the McLaren will be good, I think the Jaguar F-Type will be decent. I think the Toyota Supra is what people are using at the moment for Daily Race B at Laguna Seca, or last week when you're watching this. So I do think there'll be a good number of cars here. I do wonder how the Alfa Romeo 4C is going to fare in this one, given how good it is on tyre wear. We learned that at Road to Atlanta in a GTWS round. So I do think there'll be a good number of cars. We're going to use the Ferrari 458. It's just a general all-round good Group 4 car, good fun to drive, good top speed, and should be fairly handy around here. So there's a couple of strategies to test for this one. Now the first one we're going to test is the one stop with no tyre change, and the eagle-eyed amongst you may well have noticed that I have made a little bit of a faux pas. And that faux pas is that I've actually forgot to make the pit stop. However, this run will actually serve to test how the tyre wear is going to be if you don't change the tyres. And as you can see, the front left tyre on the racing mediums times 3 tyre wear, 10 laps. There is a lot of fast right hand corners in this track, which really puts that front left under stress. And you can see we have ran that down to around about 25%, and the effect that has on the lap time. So starting off laps 2, 3 and 4 in the 41s. Lap 5, the lap time is still okay, but from lap 6 onwards, the halfway point, the lap times do start to gradually go up, and by now, with that front tyre looking fairly second hand, we are well into the 43s, so it does kind of simulate just what the tyres will be like in the lap times, and the degradation and the drop off in lap time you're going to be suffering if you go into the pits and do not change the tyres. Remember, it's only a mandatory pit stop, it's not a mandatory pit change. So you don't actually have to change the tyres. In the past, when we've had similar races, it's actually been better to not change the tyres, because usually the tyre multiplier has been fairly low. I think it's usually at times 1 sometimes when I've done this in the past, and there's not been any benefit to changing the tyres. It looks like there's going to be a different story for this one. We can ignore the finishing time, or if you want to add on 15 seconds, the finishing time's actually about 17 minutes 21.4, because a pit stop without changing the tyres is about 15 seconds. So let's move on to the other strategy that you can do in this one. It is the one stop with a tyre change. So we've just looked at the one stop without changing the tyres. Obviously we forgot to make that pit stop, but you get an idea of what the tyre wear is like. So let's go into the pits at the end of lap 5 here, because if you're going to change the tyres, you're going to do it in the middle of the race to get the benefit from that fresh set of tyres. Of course, you could do it on lap 4 or lap 6 if you're maybe looking for some kind of undercut or maybe a little bit of an overcut. But if you're looking for the optimal strategy whilst changing the tyres, you would do it on lap 5. So we're going to come into the pits here. In the bottom left hand corner, you're going to see a pit stop without changing the tyres. And in the main screen, this is a pit stop where we will change the tyres, and we'll get an idea what the difference is between changing the tyres and between not changing the tyres, and how much time can be gained by not changing them. What you're going to see here is we have the best pit crew in probably the GT world, because it only takes 3.2 seconds for the car to be stationary and get the tyres changed. And if you don't change the tyres, you're only stationary for 1.9 seconds. So the actual cost of a pit stop changing the tyres is actually only 1.3 seconds. And I think you probably know where this one is going to go, because you've just seen how the tyres perform if you don't change them compared to tyres when they are fresh. So moving on to lap 10 here, the fresh tyre advantage is best part of a second, and towards the end of the race actually about 1.5 seconds. If you look at laps 7 and 8 there, we've done a 141.7, none of them particularly great laps, but when we didn't change the tyres, those two lap times were 142.6 and 142.7. We've done a 141.7 on lap 9, that was a 143 on the non-tyre change run, so all the time saved by not changing the tyres is lost on that one singular lap. So for me, it is looking to be a good idea to change the tyres in this one. 17 minutes 18.9, so it's about 4 seconds faster overall to change the tyres, but you are possibly giving up some track position. So let's talk through the strategy options and the pros and cons of each of these strategies in the next section of this video right now. So if you are going to do the one stop with no tyre change, you are going to pit on either lap 1 or lap 9 in order to try and gain some clean track position and be able to put in some representative laps. Just all about avoiding the traffic. Don't change the tyres, you'll gain about 1.3 seconds over anybody who does change the tyres, and you might gain some track position over some drivers because Group 4 races do tend to be very close. And then it's all about that survival on the worn tyres at the end. We've seen how much slower you're going to be, so you're going to have to be dependent on some scrapping and battling between other drivers who have changed the tyres in order to have a big enough gap towards the end of the race. It can work, every race will be different, but if you do get caught by a group of people who have changed their tyres towards the end, you're going to be a sitting duck. The one stop with changing the tyres, this is the one I'm going to recommend for most people to do. You're going to be put on laps 4 to 6. Lap 5 is obviously in the middle, it's going to be optimal, but maybe you're looking to get an undercut on lap 4, maybe a little bit of an overcut with lap 6. Any earlier, any later, you may be losing the benefit of those fresh tyres, but you could still do it. So changing the tyres will give you a significant pace advantage at the end over non-changers, but you could possibly give up a little bit of track position, and then if you find yourself changing the tyres and battling with some other drivers, maybe you lose that advantage. So very interesting race strategically wise, I have to say. There's going to be many ways of doing it, but that's the data that I can supply to you. Hopefully that can help you to then formulate your strategy. It'll be up to you what you do on the day. But let's finish off with a lap guide. We're in the Ferrari 458. We're coming into turn 1, and you're looking for a braking marker somewhere between the 100 metre and the 50 metre board. Maybe that kind of grey post there, the camera. But you can go quite deep into turn 1, down into second gear in the Ferrari. Try and catch the camber on the inside of the track, power out, and then down towards this fast right-left sequence. Nice corner when you get it right. 50 metre board is your kind of reference. I keep it in 4th gear. Good bit of curb will help the cars to stay stable just by staying in that 4th gear. Nice corner when you get it right, horrible corner when you get it wrong. Coming up the hill into a I think I know what I'm talking about. Right hand hairpin now. Start of the curb or just a little bit deeper than that, maybe the 50 metre board, the white line on the track is your reference for this one. Good overtaking opportunity, or good opportunity to be dived by another car. Similar to turn 1, a little bit of camber on the inside, definitely worth trying to get your tyres into there to help the car round. Coming down the hill to the trickiest corners on the track, and this is one there's a lot of lap time to be made up here if you get it right. So you can almost try to straight line this first part here, and then as you get it straight, come off the throttle and let the car roll over this curb. Down a gear, half braking into this part here. If you go too heavy on the brakes, you're just going to understeer wide, so it's kind of like 50% braking, just feathering the car through this sequence of corners. Again, a bit like the sort of corner we were talking about earlier. Very nice when you get it right, horrible corner when you get it wrong. You'll see a lot of people off wide there, and nice to have a corner where people are going to make mistakes on a track. Opportunities to make up positions are always nice. End of the curb here for the uphill right-hander. I find a tighter line works better. There seems to be a little bit more grip when you get the car into there. If you go a little bit wide, you just feel like you're getting understeer for days. And then up the hill, over the crest, and then down to this downhill section here. It's full throttle over the first part of the curb. Come off the throttle here, and then sort of let the car roll down the hill into the little bit of camber there to help the car round, and then you're just sort of feathering the throttle, waiting for that opportunity to get full on the throttle down the hill, and then you're looking for the 50 metre marker is your reference for the last corner. Again, a big long looping 90 degrees one, a little bit of camber on in the inside. Again, I find best to keep it tight. There seems to be a little bit more grip there. If you go a little bit wide, you just seem to understeer forever and ever and ever. And yeah, it's just the corner, just absolutely killing that front left. Lots of corners like that, and it's no surprise, even though the tyre multiplier is relatively low and it's the medium tyres, that front left is screaming by the end of the race if you don't change the tyres. But all in all, a very interesting race strategic wise. I think Group 4 BOP hopefully be quite decent as well. Should be lots of different cars to use. We'll definitely be live streaming it a couple of times over the course of the week, so do join me for that if you can. Hopefully you found the guide useful in some way, shape or form. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.